We are live, people. Sorry, I
Yeah,
couldn't
we
do that
are.
ahead of time, but welcome to the weekly. And this is episode 8, I think.
Of season 3.
Yes. Thank you very much, Juan.
You gotta keep throwing that in there because if someone were to just randomly find the show and be like, they've only done like 3 episodes, I don't know. It's probably not going to be very good because it's stuff. I'm a person and I don't bother to do my homework.
Yes, this is episode 8, season 3. Welcome, of course, Mr. Juan Bagnell from Some Gadget Guy, and of course, Pocket Now.
Yeah, that's me. West Coast is representing. I've got a ginormous mug o' coffee, and I think we're gonna have some fun today.
8, season 3. Cool. My audio from the YouTube video just kicked in, so it's kind of threw me. But welcome. Sam will not
mute it before it starts creeping in on
starts. I know, right? I'm on location. I'm actually out in Texas. I'm doing some really cool videos this week. I'll be doing a test drive of a vehicle, so you guys can expect that. Sam will not be available because he is on the way to MWC, and hopefully Warren will join us on the show. So let us kick things off. I want to start off with what I consider we have a uselessness of the week, but we don't have a I guess you could say a triumph of the week, something like that. And I have to give kudos to Apple for standing up. And last week we poo-pooed the CEO. Doesn't mean we can't give him some nice praise because
and especially without Sam here to defend him.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So this week, the Apple announced or made it public that the FBI wanted them to install a backdoor on iOS so they can actually go ahead and get information from the, I think it was the San Benito terror attacks.
That's right. The shooters in San Bernardino that they wanted to see. The FBI is claiming what they wanted to do was unlock this phone to see if they had any other information from terrorist ties, inside the country, outside the country, where they might have been getting their orders from if they were working with a larger cell of individuals.
Yeah, and I completely understand that. I'm not even. It's one of those things where you can see you can understand where they are coming from. Yeah, like this is a threat. It could be bigger. We don't know. We want to find out. Here, the problem lies in the fact that Apple says, look, if we create a backdoor, then we've opened up the floodgates for backdoors for everyone. And it puts our customers in huge security concerns. For us financially, it's a concern because you get lawsuits, you get all those kind of things. But again, too, it just means anyone can access your device. That's just what it is, And now, officially, the FBI have sued, or I take it Apple to court as of Friday. And so just want to get your thoughts as we, kind of discuss, everything that's going on here.
So, I mean, first of all, and we talked about this a lot on the Pocket Now podcast, too. First of all, we want to make sure that I want to make sure that everyone understands we're dealing with a very sensitive issue. This has been very big news here in Southern California, obviously. This terror attack, happened very near where I live. And so this has been a news story here in the local media for a while. So I completely appreciate and understand why everyone's tempers are so high, why this conversation has become so aggressive, and why Apple is not being painted in the kindest light. It's a very emotional situation for a lot of people. What ultimately I think this situation has boiled down to is the tech community is yet again not been a very good ambassador for consumer electronics. And by that I mean we have not done our job in properly communicating what really is happening here and what the consequences of this of Apple fulfilling this court order would be. I think it really came to this issue was really illustrated for me. I was watching a KTLA news broadcast where I'm friends with the tech reporter there. His name's Rich DeMiro, and he was trying to express, he was trying to explain the situation for morning news. And so, he's really trying to condense it down to make it as simple and as easily accessible as possible. But that means we lose a lot of the nuance and we lose a lot of the detail of the specificity of what's happening. And so he finishes what I think is a very impassioned defense of Apple, only to then have another news broadcaster go, well, I mean, you're saying it's like a lock on a phone. Can't they just break the lock this one time and then make a new lock and put a new lock on the phone? I can just go to Home Depot and buy a new lock if I have to use a pair of bolt cutters to cut off an old lock. So why can't Apple just do that this one time? And I could just see sort of the not the panic, but sort of the just the frustration in that moment for Rich, because he had just gone through explaining, you know, like why this couldn't happen, and he ultimately got to a point where it would have taken a couple minutes to really properly explain why all of this was so precarious. But you don't have that. You don't have that in a media setting like that, and he ultimately had to kind of resort to it just can't work that way, which no one's going to be satisfied by. So again, this is, I think, anytime something terrible like this happens, one, I'm disappointed, because this is a conversation we should be having when tensions aren't so high. We're talking about security, we're talking about encryption. This is something that we should be working on, not when there's a tragedy behind it. But two, this is also an opportunity. And for anyone who might be watching this show, this podcast, this is an opportunity to join the conversation again, to not be cynical, and to make sure that we are the ambassadors, that we are the ones who are leading this discussion, and that we are bringing people into the discussion, not shaming them by not knowing about as much tech stuff as we do. This is not a situation where, you know, grandmother asks you for help with her web browser because she has too many toolbars installed, and you roll your eyes and you sigh and you kind of stomp into her, you know, and fix her computer, and you do it all very begrudgingly. This is an opportunity for us to comfort people who might be afraid. This is an opportunity for us to bring people into the discussion, and this is also an opportunity for us to reach out to elected officials, to write letters to congressmen, to senators, so that we can properly inform the debate, and we don't leave this debate up to people who don't understand what's at stake here. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, and I know that the people who watch shows like these are probably much better equipped to handle this conversation than most of the public at large.
Yeah. Warren, do you want to add? We're talking about Apple and FBI initiative to unlock the iPhone from the San Benito terrorist attack.
This is not a conversation that I believe is very simple, as I think the sort of social media and sort of traditional media has kind of given it sort of this one to just unlock at one time and just that's it. Problem with that is that they most likely have a much more simplified version of encryption than you see with most more complex versions. So if they probably make one thing, it probably will unlock everything, and that's not a tool you want to give to authorities and believe they're not going to use it until we get some type of court order in place where for you to be able to look on any type of digital communication, you have to have a warrant. We currently don't really have that right now, so that can make it really easy for, you know, the FBI, if they have this tool, to just go right around and just use it whenever they feel like they think that there's something suspicious there, and they'll just go and just use it at their own discretion. They won't necessarily have the most moral the moral compass to be able to properly use that. With that being said, I understand the cases of what we're dealing with, what type of phone we're trying to unlock and trying to get information off of that could potentially have data on it that could possibly prevent future attacks like San Bernardino from happening, and getting more information on maybe whereabouts of the people maybe that are involved in these terrorist groups. So it's just not a really simple answer. I'm kind of pissed that Apple doesn't really have better encryption on their software, because while they have it, I don't think it's necessarily as robust as it should be to be able to have some type of tool where they can do a one unlock, and that unlock is unique to that particular device. You see that a lot, and we have that in Windows BitLocker encryption, essentially, because when you ever notice you encrypt your laptop with BitLocker encryption, it actually produces a key, that if you try to swipe it into any other computer, you have to have that key to be able to unlock it. But that's the only key that works on that particular set of encryptions at that time. You can't use another BitLocker key to try and unlock it because it won't work because that key is unique to that particular machine. And I would think Apple would have enough sense enough to, even on a consumer side, have something very similar to that, to where there's a unique key. They may have the identifier somewhere or something. You link the identifier up, and you can unlock the phone at that point. But it's just not a very simplistic answer, but it does bring up more sort of a discussion point of how we should handle these things in the future in a way that protects the people's privacy, but also allows the authorities to do a very thorough job in getting the information they need to help protect us as well too.
To Jordan's point, I know Jordan was asking whether Apple just can't do it or won't do it. I think it's like Juan said there, it's more like they won't, but also more like they're referring to this as a opening a can of worms. It really is that case where, at least for them, whether they don't have the best encryption or not, that's not even an issue. It's more of, if I were to create, say we're all Kryptonians on this planet, and I made a kryptonite gun, I am screwing all of us on this planet, pretty much. That is the equivalent. That's how I'll put it this way. Even though we want to catch just one, it becomes that tool that can take all of us out. And that's where the problem lies. Now, I don't know if there was actually a warrant for this initially or not, because if there wasn't, then that also sets a bad precedent of saying, we need to get a better judicial system for this to actually flow properly, where a company now goes, okay, I'm working under my legal confines of doing what I need to do to help the authorities, and not just more of, FBI saying, hey, let's, just unlock this stuff for us. I mean, on the other hand, on the off note, the founder of McAfee says, hey, he can do it for them, so that Apple won't actually do it themselves. So
all he needs is hookers and blow, and he'll unlock that phone tomorrow.
So yeah, he said, I mean, that's an option for the FBI. I'm just saying, but it is interesting. Google also came to the defense of Apple there. Microsoft hasn't said anything, maybe just because they have BitLocker encryption, so they're like, huh.
Well, and also, I mean, there are some strange inconsistencies in the case. Like if that phone had been brought back into a trusted Wi-Fi place and had any kind of cloud backup through the Apple account, that should have worked. But then it seems that the password might have been changed while in police custody, which would have prevented that Apple backup from occurring. So, then you have this whole contingent of people like on Reddit that are now claiming that this is some sort of, not a conspiracy, but this is becoming a manufactured situation for law enforcement to
get into the system and
to force manufacturers access to create backdoors. And so this is, again, whether or not that is true, this is still another opportunity where the tech community really has to explain why they shouldn't do it. We have a number of people that are stepping up, and a number of people saying like that they're happy that Apple's taking the stand. But for the general consumer out there, I still think there's going to be a perception of, well, Apple isn't going to do it because reasons, but I think they should stop terrorism. It's not as cut and dry as will they or won't they. This is a far more nuanced discussion that needs to happen for people to understand that Apple not doing this is actually in their best interests.
Okay, let me give you just a worst case scenario, right? Apple, say, for instance, goes ahead and does this for the FBI, right? Because whether of the court injunction that was filed by the FBI, and they have to do it. They go ahead and do it. FBI now has a backdoor, even though FBI says they want a one-time backdoor key, right? But that one-time key might leave exploits, which means one day some hacker or somebody from the FBI who gets disgruntled, who leaves, who isn't, whatever the case may be, now has access into iOS systems. And then maybe there's also a loophole through NFC that goes into our financials. I mean, I'm just giving you scenarios. I don't know exactly how it works, but since these are interconnected systems, you're going to have a scale worse than the Sony leaks happening in Apple's case, on a worst case scenario. And this is a bigger company with more customers that you don't want to have that happen, because the biggest threat as we move forward is cyber terrorism, I think,
Oh, absolutely.
because you can hijack people's systems are moving to the cloud, people's lives are moving to the cloud, people's financials are moving to the cloud. When you can hijack those on a large basis, then that becomes a serious problem. So,
There is no cloud. It's just someone else's computer.
Who's it? Someone shared like a
That was me.
that
There
was
is.
great. I loved that.
That was
all right,
even.
all right, all right. Since there is no cloud, anyway, there's
But also, I mean, just to kind of and to wrap up your point there, it's also even just our terminology needs to be
refinements.
explained. Like when we talk about the FBI is trying to compel Apple to build a back door. One of the things that they're talking about is, so you have your phone and you try and unlock it 10 times, and if you fail to unlock it after that 10th attempt, it wipes the phone. And so what the FBI is trying to compel Apple to build is a process to circumvent that security. Once that process has been created, that process exists forever. That's it. It's not like for this one phone, they're going to make an operating system that has a giant hole in the back of it so that the FBI can get into this one phone. We're not talking about punching a hole in one phone. We're talking about creating a system which could then be used. As soon as the system exists, that system can then be used on any device. And so that's what we mean. I mean, even when we say backdoor, even that doesn't really properly convey what it is that could be happening in the future if Apple is forced to work on this.
Yeah, I mean, the only way that system would disappear is Apple decides to completely change their kernel for whatever iOS is.
Right, and even then, what we're talking about is creating a system that can also circumvent hardware modules. So even if Apple changes the kernel, there's still every opportunity to take that system and then convert it to other devices. You know what I mean? So you have your iPhone. Was this an iPhone 5C? And so they're trying to get around security on that. Well, we have trusted modules in the iPhone 6s. So as long as we can look at the system that they used to circumvent security on the iPhone 5C, eventually we'll probably be able to reverse engineer that to come up with a system to get around security on the iPhone 6s. And then Apple can change the software kernel. But then as long as you can get around the Touch ID on the iPhone 6s, well, you can then find ways to unlimited brute force your way, try and figure out passwords or fingerprints or whatever it is that you need to do to get around that. So it's absolutely just more than, well, I mean, they can just do it for this one phone. It's not. It's that it's creating a framework that other people could then use. It's forcing Apple to create a framework that other people could then use to get around future device security.
And Mike Tech makes a very good point. He says you got to think about whose hands you really want in your cookie jar.
Right.
Well, the thing is that if they have this backdoor process, this should be a process that they own, that they have, that stays in their camp, that the FBI has to go to them, and they do everything that's needed to be done if we're going to have these things exist, which eventually these things are probably going to eventually exist. But
I mean, see, for my problem with the backdoor is to what Juan says. Once you have it, it's. I mean, I prefer a BitLocker.
I guarantee you, it already exists.
I prefer a BitLocker system makes more sense because it's really unique identifiers matching for one device. Where you go, okay, fine, this is the master key. It almost takes you back to the old model of master key, here's the door type of thing for this device. And again, we can parse here and there, but it really is one of those things where again, the legal side of things are way behind the tech, and then and that's where we fall in. Although Jordan says the NSA can get all the information anyway if they want, so I don't know why FBI is wasting your time.
Well, I think it's easier to go after the tech companies and trying to go after the cellular and data communication companies over and over again to try and get all that stuff.
But what I don't understand is things like if the allegations that the password has been changed are true, Apple has complied with iCloud data, and if that phone was backed up to an iCloud account, then that's an easy transfer because there is no cloud. It's just someone's information living on someone else's computer. Apple has expressed that kind of investigation or that kind of sharing with authorities is something that they would absolutely consider in a case such as this, where we're trying to see if there are legit terrorist ties or if these were two people acting independently. So that's where, you know, the story on this has gotten sidetracked by Apple's refusal to do this. I'd also like to see a little bit more conversation or commentary on what has the chain of custody look like for this device. It was a government issued phone, so why wasn't it being backed up to local government agencies' accounts for that information? Why was it so privately backed up? I mean, privately logged down. There's so many just odd parts of the story that we're not reporting on because we're sort of fixated on Apple's refusal to unlock or you know, create a system to unlock this phone. And it's just really disappointing because those are other contributing points of this discussion that would really help other consumers say, like, well, hey, yeah, you know, when I get a phone from work, it's not like I can do anything I want to it. It's that, you know, the IT guy is going to know if I install a porn app on there. So why can't they figure out? Why can't the city of San Bernardino officials and IT consultants say this is what was on the phone? You know, so that's what's also becoming a bit frustrating is there's more to this than we have information to properly discuss.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, we should probably move on.
to happier things. MWC starts this weekend. It's going to be, of course, mobile show, and MWC is all about VR. VR is taking over MWC because, number one, Samsung's event will be streamed in 360 VR. First thing. We do know that the Samsung is also going to be announcing a 360 camera. And as well as rumored VR devices from everyone, from LG to Huawei, the whole bunch. So it looks like VR is, at least the Pocket VR is really taking a big effect this year. Any thoughts on that, or you just think that was just going to be the normal affair anyway?
For
VR just, you know, expanding with you know, Samsung, LG, Huawei. I mean,
you know, it's one of those things, like, you know, when we first started seeing the first cardboard players shipping out, it was an instant, like, why aren't all manufacturers building some simple container for their phones to you know, interact with this? You know, LG did it for the G3, but we haven't seen anything for the G4 or the V10. You know, this is a missed opportunity because you can actually join this conversation. You can actually improve the state of VR and Google Cardboard, and you can bring more people into the fold. And once more people play with things on their phone, they'll be more likely to step up to higher end solutions because they'll see that it's actually kind of cool. So now we're starting to see more companies actually jump on the bandwagon. I think one of the most interesting aspects of this was the Alcatel, the Idol 4 Pro. I don't think it's going to get an official MWC announcement, but
maybe, who knows?
It might. But that's lower on the. I know for a lot of people it's just lower on the list in general. But it's not a sure thing that they're gonna make a big splash with that. But we've already seen word from them that they'll probably be shipping that phone with a VR viewer, which could be really cool. So hopefully this is the consumer push that we need to start getting more developers interested in producing content for the platform. And then I still think there's every opportunity for an amazing consumer content revolution where a few simple, you know, GoPro style camera solutions, and people will be able to start producing their own 360-degree video or 360-degree panorama photos that people can then experience by watching them on their phone or putting them in a VR headset. And that could be really exciting. So hopefully this is the first step in a more public facing or more consumer facing VR solutions.
Warren?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what Juan sort of said there with VR. It's going to be the big thing. Everybody's coming out with their version of how they're going to be doing virtual reality. I don't think there's much more to say to it other than let's see what they have, and let's hope it's good enough that's going to get people more interested in VR, which will then in turn get people that want to develop content for it. And kind of push them to get more and more of this stuff out there, so that eventually when we go to the big players such as Oculus and HTC Vive and those big, large scale virtual reality machines become something that you can just become something interesting that people actually want to buy in the home.
True. All right, moving on to a different company here. Our good friends at LG. It's finally leaked some of the different accessories we will find with the LG G5 right here. And I think it was an Android Authority. They had a bunch of different leaks. This one, of course, is for a battery pack. There's also camera grip with that, with physical buttons, physical shutter buttons for the Magic Slot. There's also going to be a VR headset for LG. A few other attachments that they're trying to work on. But what do you guys think about the Magic Slot? Because I mean, personally, I still don't get it. I mean, it's attachments I get. It's like getting an N64 again or something. But thoughts.
Well, I think it's actually the way it makes sense is that it allows them to maybe put, it's more than just a plastic case that connects to the phone, a plastic piece. It looks like that's something that when you plug it into the slot, you get more functionality out of it, and it becomes sort of the core of the phone. You get an extra additional feature or software set, and it looks like also something where they have a battery attached to it each time, and that accessories, the added milliamp hours are added to that, added to the battery to make up for the accessory that's plugged into it that would normally take more or something like that. Not totally sure on the whole thing, but it makes sense from a standpoint of it seems like it's just going to give you more functionality out of the device than standardly just, here's a plastic case with an extra button to push to the shutter, and it's just really a mechanical thing that it just does, that it just kind of connects to. It may be similar to, how you got the extra battery with the Lumia 1020's camera module. When you put that in the holder, and it became a battery, and you had a couple of the extra things with it as well too. It seems like LG might be trying to be a little more expansive on that, and that's sort of, that Magic Slot might be something that's sort of the gateway to getting into how modular the smartphones are going to be in the future, where you can swap out pieces here and there. While Project R isn't here yet, this can at least sort of start the conversation of getting those type of modular style phones into, get it in the public conversation. So in the future, that might be something that everybody rolls out.
Juan?
Yeah, because the last time we talked about Magic Slot, and I'm still kind of in the same place. I'm not sure what Magic Slot brings to the table that can't be achieved through USB. But in sort of looking around, and especially after hearing Warren's thoughts on this, the idea that maybe LG has built some system for interacting with Android so that we're not relying on Google for, like for example, like one of the rumored pieces is a super high quality audio DAC. So you have, just like in the V10, they built a really high quality headphone amp into the V10. They would have a module for the G5 which provides something similar. For those people who want it. So you didn't have to build that into the phone and increase the cost of the phone, but for someone who wants that extra capability, they can have it. So maybe what they've done is built an interface into the phone which doesn't rely on Android, because we know Android's USB audio is actually kind of terrible, to circumvent some of those issues that while we're waiting for Google to figure out how modular Android can be, that they might be sidestepping that. In the short term, I don't think it's going to give us anything that we couldn't have had, like we were saying, like a Lumia 1020, which has a battery case. It's cool to give an LG phone a battery grip and have an extra little bit of battery juice in there to power the phone, because you're going to be using the camera that's more aggressive usage. That's not something we couldn't have done with a case, So in the short term, I wonder what it is that we'll get that will really make Magic Slot so compelling a solution. But if it is just the beginning of a conversation and making our phones more modular, well, then maybe that's enough, and people will say like, oh, and you can do these things, you can add these pieces on, you can add these parts on, and then later when we get a phone where you can actually just rip the whole thing apart and like, I want this processor with this screen and this camera, then people won't be as afraid to try stuff like that, because companies like LG started us off really slow with the little slot card. I just think it's funny because we're kind of getting back to those sleeves that we used to have on Pocket PC.
Yeah.
You remember the old iPacs? You would slide it into this giant sleeve, and then you get like a compact flash card reader. Woo! So it's just kind of funny watching the tech world kind of come full circle on that style of accessory.
Yeah, we're interested to see. I mean, we'll just have to wait till 2 p.m. tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern time. It's 2 p.m. time in Barcelona. So we'll see what LG has to do with the Magic Slot, all the different things they're doing with the camera and all that, fun stuff altogether. But all these devices have been super leaked beyond belief. Speaking of which, is the Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge. Samsung basically showcased its features in an ad they had. And of course, coming back to the fray is nothing other than water resistance. Right there, right there. Water is getting wet. And we have quad video playback. Just saying, I just want to throw that in there so people know. I mean, I don't know what kind of usefulness you get with that, but
I don't know if that's quad video playback or
it was quad video playback. I mean, I watched the video. I paused that and went frame by frame, and each different frame was playing. So,
well, that could be one of those instant. No. Remember how you can make those videos, those 6-second videos in a collage, in the camera. So I'm wondering if it's just one video that she made
maybe
of that. That's what I think that is.
My thing with this ad was, I don't know whether they were trying to hint at faster wireless charging, because regular wireless charging takes over 2 hours, and then they showed her dropping it and picking it up, and I'm like, unless she did a 2-hour workout, are you saying that this was an hour workout and they only took an hour to wireless charge? That would be cool, but I don't know, But yeah, so any thoughts on Samsung of going back to what it used to do with water resistance?
Well, the interesting thing is that they're using an S6 in there, and it makes me wonder, was this thing water resistant before, and they just didn't put a certification essentially on top of the thing, and just kind of put a stamp on it to say that it was. Because I imagine that this thing isn't going to have like a slot or anything on the bottom of it to essentially protect the ports, like they did with the like they did with the S5.
No.
So it's making me wonder. Like,
I mean, but also again,
that was there before. They're making it again, but now we're going to put the seal of approval on it that it actually is.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but that rain also looked very fake to me. So whatever.
Well, I just think, because I think in the transition from the plastic phones that they were making before into metal and glass, that there probably is some enhanced water resistance in S6 and the S6 Edge and the generation of phones that we got in 2015. But mating metal and glass together and making sure that it's sealed against water is probably a little bit more of a challenge than especially like the active phones that they produce. So I can totally understand. I mean, like, to Warren's point, I can totally understand where they would build it to a certain tier, but that still doesn't quite reach the threshold for where you tell consumers, like, hey, you drop it in your pool, it'll probably survive. That now they've probably sorted out some of their manufacturing, some of their QA. All of this stuff evolves over time. And even though on the outside it looks more like a Apple strategy, the moving from the S6 to the S7 doesn't look like it's going to be a profound design change. Over this last year, they've probably been improving how all of the guts of that phone get smashed into such a thin frame. So it really does kind of speak to when I was early, and we were all sort of on varying degrees of the spectrum, but early on when I was very critical of the S6 and later of the Note 5, that generation of phones felt like the transition process into getting us into the devices that Samsung really wanted to build now for 2016. Not like I would ever say, like, oh, you shouldn't have bought a Galaxy S6, but it seems like Samsung has figured out both sides of the equation now. It took breaking a lot of the lifestyle features to figure out their design, and now that they've figured out their design, they can bring those lifestyle features back, like water resistance and SD card slots.
Okay, some breaking news here. You heard it here first, people. It looks like the price is now official for the Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge. This is the euro prices: €699, €799, and there's also 0% 20 months. I don't know if that's through Samsung or through this ad, but the date is March 11th in terms of availability. That was
a dual pixel camera, it says on there too.
Where?
It says an S7 Edge. It says right underneath it IP. So it's IP68 certified and is a dual pixel camera.
It's not a dual pixel camera. I think it's just the camera tech that they probably missed.
I don't know. I think if they say dual pixel,
I know what it means, dual pixel, because the pixel size is larger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So maybe there's, that's what they're gonna brand the camera, a dual pixel camera or something like that, where how the sensor is larger, but the megapixel is a little bit smaller. And that's gonna probably be how their PR spin is gonna be for that.
So feature. It's designed with aluminum and Gorilla Glass 4, IP68, 12 megapixels, 200 gigabytes. I think that is online because my German is pretty bad.
Oh, guys, sorry, not to interrupt. The phrase dual pixel, I remembered that's actually something that we're using in DSLRs. Dual pixel technology is something that we use to speed up autofocus.
Thank you for finally
clicking. I know that means something. What does that mean?
What does this mean?
So we have here dual pixel. The f-stop is 1.7, and that's pretty much all I can garner from this German ad.
I wonder what the camera's made of this time. Is this? I think the last time with the S6, it was a mix of Sony's and Samsung's lenses and cameras and all of them.
I know they patented the bright cell technology, which was I forgot, it's a diode, I think, if I'm mistaken, like a few months back. So I'm not exactly sure what it is specifically, but we do know March 11th in Germany. And so most likely also March 11th in the US, we can assume. And the price in Germany will be $699 for the S7. S7 Edge will be more by 100 euros, and you will get a free VR headset if you pre-order the device. So
yeah, that's actually not bad. Gear VR.
And
is the Gear VR water resistant though?
Not.
And pre-orders will start on the 22nd, so on Monday.
So do we think that $699 will also be the United States dollar price? I mean, because in euro, that's actually a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
What's that? That's like over 750, right?
Yeah, but that didn't tell you what size that is. That I guess that's a 32 gigabyte version.
Oh, I would imagine so.
I imagine that 32, 64, and 128.
I'm not sure. I think most likely, I believe Samsung would advertise more its payment plan to come tomorrow. That's my own guess. And not really talk about that $600 price, because it wouldn't matter when you're paying $25 a month, whatever the price would be.
Yeah.
At that point.
As a service.
Yeah. So yeah, that is the pricing on the S7 here.
So we got the water resistance confirmed.
Yeah.
And my Samsung, I can't stand the rain.
It's my window.
All right, so moving on to the next topic, which kind of caught me by surprise, is I'm going to share the image here. And I don't know if you can help me get the specs for this, Juan. This is from HP. HP is making a Windows phone, but it's the fact that this thing is spec'd like it's about to destroy the world, which I'm still a little shocked. So this is the HP Elite X3. Comes with a Snapdragon 820 processor, 4 gigs of RAM.
5.96, an almost 6-inch Quad HD display.
Yeah.
16 megapixel rear camera, 8 megapixel front camera. That should be an interesting shooter to check out. And 32 gig of storage with an iris scanner as well as a fingerprint scanner.
Yeah.
And that it's IP67 water and dust resistant with full continuum support and USB Type-C, and it's less than 8 millimeters thick.
And it's got wireless charging built in. Where's the fingerprint scanner though? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, I'm really hoping that maybe this is another device that's going to be using that Qualcomm screen tech.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, we don't see any fingerprint scanner here. I
don't see any hardware. I mean, obviously we're talking about leaked images, and this might not even be a final hardware build. I mean, it looks pretty complete. It looks pretty finished. But this could be like LETV. They were talking about they were going to be incorporating Qualcomm screen scanning tech so that your screen becomes the fingerprint scanner, and maybe HP is doing something similar.
And it's also got front firing speaker with Bang& Olufsen, so you should be getting some really good audio on there. But it's just interesting that they really went all out on this device. I mean,
It looks like a monster performer. I'm always a little gun shy because HP likes to dip their toe into phones and then disappear for a really long time.
yeah,
From like the old early days of I'm bringing iPacs back. Everything
Yeah,
old is
that
new
packs.
again. They had iPac phones for a
Yeah.
while, and again, they weren't instantly successful, so they put out like 2 generations of iPac phone and then stopped making phones for a really long time. But
Yeah.
at least they're not limping into this market. I think in the past HP has always been guilty of, well, we'll make like the bare bones minimum, call it a corporate device and charge businesses a lot of money for it. This doesn't seem to be that strategy again. So I'm very curious. This is maybe one of the most curious devices I think we'll get this year as to how this thing performs.
yeah. I mean, like it. I mean, the only reason I can think of is this phone is packed enough because when the Surface Phone hits and that new version of Windows Phone shows up, that looks more, PC-esque in the sense that this pretty much can support it. That's the only thing I can think of because I'm looking at this, I'm going, for a company that didn't even put its toes in Windows Phone for the last 2 years, you just come out and be like, yeah, let's just make the best thing possible and throw it out there. And I'm like, it's cool, but it's a little, I don't know, it's a little scary. Any thoughts, Warren?
Um, prove, well, I don't know. It's HP. It's
Yeah,
just like,
So much unknown.
yeah.
maybe.
Like, again, it's exciting we're talking about HP making a phone, but it's also like I've got to temper that by it's HP making a phone. I'm very anxiously or tentatively excited for what this might mean.
LGH says, does Bang& Olufsen branding mean something? Or does it mean more like laptops? I haven't tried any Bang& Olufsen laptops. Um,
Actually, I think I have one here myself that
uh,
I'm trying out.
I haven't tried one yet, so I don't know if they just slapped a brand on there or if it's something that really has Bang& Olufsen audio, but I would hope it would. That's just the only thing I can say about that. Oh, I wanted to go back on one thing. The Galaxy S7 will use micro USB charging, not USB
Oh
Type-C.
yeah, yeah. We saw another like really high quality leaked image about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of. I think we were hoping and thinking that was going to go that way, but then it kind of makes sense that they maybe were holding off on this sort of again.
Uh,
Maybe because it's not like the spec is essentially all that
no, no,
final either.
it's not that. It's not. The main reason why is because they can afford to do that. They are in the very different marketplace from a lot of their competitors where they're still number one. They still have a lot of people who still have micro USB, and you can make that switch with the Note because your Note, if you're moving the Note back to that is your premier, spec device. Then the Note should definitely be the one that carries USB Type C, and then you transition people over using that gap in between.
They got to get a better name for that thing.
So.
USB Type C is like the worst name to give that thing at all.
Well, I mean, I think most people are gonna start just saying USB-C
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also, and
as
I think
opposed to
it's
micro
also,
USB or. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
and also think the other thing is that I don't think they're going to change this on the S7 kind of because people got all scared on the S5 and they put the USB 3 port on the bottom, even though it's the same damn thing. You can explain it 1,000 times it was that way, but people still freaked out like, I can't, it changed the charges. No, they didn't. But so this case, I think for their general phone, I think they're going to be they're going to stay a little bit of ways away from the
Yeah,
USB
it will
Type-C.
be next year. Definitely next year. It will be USB-C on there. It was just interesting. I just wanted to point that out just because I was like, you know, HP's making a
I
phone,
mean,
and
pretty much, I think everything, all the phablet phones, the phones that we've seen that come on USB Type C have mostly been phablet driven, the exception of like the Lumia 950 and the Vivo 5. They've been on sort of the 5.5, a little smaller screen size, but mostly everything else has been.
Yeah, so it's official now. Since the press conference is going on at Android Live, the Idol 4 was announced.
Oh, right
Um,
on.
yeah, it will have there's an Idol 4 and there's Idol 4S. The 4S, it has a QHD display. It looks like it's pretty well spec'd, but it's running Snapdragon 617 and Snapdragon 625 for the 4. 617 4S is 625 if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
Let me just make sure.
Well, but these are the idols that we knew were going to MWC. What I'd be surprised to see, and what I still don't think they'll talk about, is the Idol 4 Pro. So we have the Idol 4, the Idol 4S. And
Oh,
then the
the
Idol
Pro. I don't think so. I don't
So I
think
don't
so.
think I didn't think that was the one that was going to be announced, but that's the one supposedly I thought was the one that might be shipping with a VR headset. But it's entirely possible that the 4S might have been too.
So the 4S is QHD display 5.5, Android 6.0, micro USB 2.0 there, Wi-Fi direct, 60 megapixel camera, 8 in the front, 32 internal, 3 gigs of RAM, micro SD up to 512. Bam, not 200 anymore. And although LG says they do 2 terabytes on theirs, they always said that. So yeah, it's and it's a 2600 2610 milliamp battery, which is a little smaller,
Yeah,
but
that's a little lean.
hmm
But again, I mean, like from having played with the Idol 3 was really my favorite cheap phone of last year, and going with lower power hardware like the 600 series Qualcomm as opposed to an 800 series Qualcomm. I'd still say you'd probably get decent day-long runtime under medium use. So
yeah, and charging time about 1 hour with quick charge flat.
oh, that's exciting because there's been spotty support for the old 600 series CPUs for quick charging.
Well, this is the new versions, the 617 and 625. So
Oh
they've
yeah,
been,
that's what I mean is like supposedly the 615 and 616 could support wireless, I mean fast charging,
fast
but
charging, but
none of the manufacturers who were building those phones I think wanted to pay for it. So that's actually a much bigger deal now. Like if that's going to be what we get moving forward.
one more leaked image here of a device that's not going to be an MWC, and you know the company I'm talking about. I'm talking about our good friends at.
The A16.
Oh no, it wasn't that, not HTC, but I was talking about the M10. That this really makes it look like an iPhone. I mean, I'm about to share the image
Yep.
here. You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's an iPhone with a Samsung Home fingerprint scanner
Yeah.
shape. I mean, because like the front face is basically if a Note 5 and an iPhone 6 Plus had a baby, that's what it would look like.
Yeah, it does.
yeah.
It
I
really
don't
does.
think that's how you save a company. I don't think that's how you
Well,
encourage consumers to do business with you.
I mean,
but they've been doing so well with the A9.
A9. Yeah, that's the
I
thing now.
see maybe why they've.
But have they? I mean, I know that we saw that sales bump at the end of the year when the A9 was released, but it wasn't such a cracking success that and also I mean even with the A9 being out, this is something that they were already working on before they even knew how the A9 would perform. Their company strategy is let's make an iPhone. Like I don't think that's how you engender customers to do business with you. I think it confuses the market. I think HTC fans are going to be disappointed. Android fans, I think, are going to be disappointed. And iPhone fans aren't going to jump ship just because there's an Android which looks like the phone that they're currently using. I don't get this strategy. I really don't understand.
I don't know what to tell you.
Like I said, so far they're seeing some type of success with it, and the little bit goes a long way sometimes. So I'll continue to kind of go down that path if it's something that's gonna work for them. Maybe lead them towards something different, or lead them towards the ability. We'll see how it goes with HTC. There are other strategies that haven't worked. You got to try something different. So
Okay. Yeah, that is true. I mean, I know what to say. On well, I guess we could move on, but on other like just general news, the Gear S2 3G with this first eSIM is coming in March.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'm thinking Samsung will mention that too tomorrow. Although the AT&T, I think they sent out press releases, a couple of I think on Friday or Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, about that. So it'll be nice to see. But overall, I think that's pretty much it, guys. Unless you guys can think of anything else.
Did we talk about our uselessness?
We didn't have one. We,
I have one.
okay.
Oh,
Oh,
we have one. I have
Okay.
a big one. It's related to
late entry
gaming,
uselessness. Let's
All
do
and
right.
it.
and it's related to the release of Street Fighter V and what it released with, or lack thereof with.
Oh yeah, yeah. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
So Street Fighter V came out this week,
On the
officially,
4.
um, and for PlayStation 4 and I think the PC as well too.
Yeah.
They released at the same time, and it pretty much is missing most of the modes that you're used to. It's a story mode that involves each character with about 4 fights, 1 round apiece, and the stories are sort of told in a very beautifully written sort of hand drawn sort of sketches, and that's for each character. There is no arcade mode, and like I said, there's no story mode, no flush story mode with it. Although they promise that'll come a little bit later on down the road, and they're missing, and pretty much the only real thing you can do is kind of play online. There really isn't. I don't believe there's local 1 player, 2 player as well with it. It's like you're gonna play, you got to play everything essentially online. And if you want to practice, you have to go in the practice stage to do that. You can't go and practice, by playing the story or playing the through the
Computer.
thing or the arcade. You can't play the CPU either in the game for
Well,
$60.
well, it means that the definite version will be the Xbox version.
Well, I have a feeling this game's never going to show up on the Xbox.
Ah.
It's just not going to. It'll most likely be on the PC unless we hear a fighting stick that shows up for the Xbox One. This game won't probably show up to there.
I mean, the thing about this is that yeah, even like, we talked about this earlier that fighting games are niche,
Yeah.
but also depends on how well you do them. For instance, the last Mortal Kombat did very well.
Yeah.
It did well because if you look at that game, the amount of modes you have in that Mortal Kombat is massive, and they
But
keep adding content
that game is also accessible to the casual audience.
and keep adding. But that's the thing where when I heard Street Fighter V announcement, I was expecting them to do a range because you play Mortal Kombat is accessible, but you can play it as a hardcore Mortal Kombat player.
Hmm.
This Street Fighter was made for hardcore players, which is fine if you want to make a hardcore Street Fighter. But then when you, like you said, when you start taking out all these different modes, then you're leaving players going, why did I? Okay, fine, I'm a hardcore person. I will pay the $60 if you give me everything I'm supposed to get.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
not
It's
not not taking out a few things and say, hey, it will come later.
it's like they're trying to make the Titanfall of fighting games, but then still charging as much as
At
a
least, at
full.
least Titanfall told us we don't have a single player from the get-go.
Well, and Titanfall didn't start. Was it a full $60 game? Was it a full 60 title?
No,
$60
no, it
title?
wasn't. It wasn't. You buy when you bought the map
Right.
pass.
That's what I
The
mean.
extra
Is
value
like
became 60. Yeah.
is I when I got Street Fighter 4, what did I get? I got Super Street Fighter 4, which that I think was a $30 or $40 title at launch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
update to Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
The idea that I would pay $20 more for Street Fighter 5 for less stuff is a difficult pill to swallow.
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised by it because when they announced, yeah, Street Fighter V to the PS4, and I immediately said to myself, all right, going to be a tournament game, competitive fighting. They're not going to give a crap about this being something that casual people can come in and play. This was all designed to be just about, the competitive fighting genre. And that's exactly the game that they made. And no DLC like I thought they were going to do, DLC, all the modes and stuff like that. I think they said they're going to give a free story mode, sometime in June. So you'll get, somewhat of a fleshed out game, but there's a good chance they're going to be charging for every other mode. I just don't have a good feeling about where this is going to go in terms of casual use, but most likely this is going to be a game that competitive fighters play it, and that's going to be about it.
I mean,
And
Street Fighter
it's already turned into that.
Street Fighter is one of the few games my wife will actually pick up and play. And this is sounding exactly like everything that she hates about.
Well, they're gonna retcon it with Super Street Fighter, add things, bring it down from competitive standpoint to a casual. That's the only way they would, and then say it's out and it's
Yeah, and all that time, my wife will keep playing Street Fighter 4.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's for tournaments, so the chances of them really bringing that down.
No. I mean, on a Super. No, you make a Super. That's what I say. You make a Super Street Fighter, not the 4, and then you redo a lot of things. But I don't get why a company cannot just make Street Fighter 5 or 6 or whatever version number and have everything and have a tournament mode that really feels like tournament. And say if you're a tournament player, you always want to play that and be done. I don't get it.
I mean, they should have They should have done that, but there's probably a good way to. I don't know, extend beyond that $60 price tag because they're always looking to make more money. So
no, I mean, if you want to make more money, do it like Mortal Kombat. They have packs of different characters, Jason, things you didn't expect. You're like, I'll get it. Well, sure. I mean, it's $10 here for a pack of 4 characters, whatever the case may be. Street Fighter, there's Capcom. There's so many Capcom characters you can add. There's so many other cross-platform characters you can add in Japanese anime.
They would never do that in Street Fighter. They would never ever do that in Street Fighter. But that's why that game is also the most successful fighting game out of all of them. It stuck to being its own thing.
I get that.
What you're asking in that regard, those in the end of the day are gimmicks that work for. That other fighting games had to do. Soul Calibur had to do that. Tekken had to do that. The most they did, man. The most they did was Street Fighter Cross Tekken. That's the most that they did.
No. Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah, but that's not.
That's a Street Fighter game.
That's still not a core Street Fighter game. Doesn't include all the Street Fighter characters. Just the Capcom guys and let's do Ryu and a couple of people into it.
But I can see Annabong's point though, where why not make Street Fighter a modular platform where we can interact with content if we want. So like you have like a tournament edition, and that's what is official for tournament players.
Exactly.
There's a DLC pack for consumers where you're like, I really want to fight Ryu with Mega Man. I just think there's an opportunity there. I understand what you're saying, Warren, and I know why they won't. I'm just saying that it feels like they're leaving money on the table, and it sounds like they're pissing off a number of their casual players with a move like this when they have every opportunity to leverage IP that people would get really excited about. And Street Fighter is a property that could probably eclipse a Nintendo. What is the Smash? The
Smash
Brothers.
Smash
Brothers.
That's one of those.
So I just think again it's a missed opportunity to
see that's the thing. I mean, Smash Brothers has done that effectively, still keeping the same core game.
Yeah, but their gamers also complain a lot about imbalances in games.
No.
Characters. You're always gonna have problems with stuff.
You're gonna have Street Fighter is notorious for that.
Street Fighter is only lucky
now. No, Street Fighter is lucky now because it has updates. Back in the day when there were no updates, imbalances were terrible. So let's never go there.
They've since then, we're talking way back when, but we're talking about the Smash Brothers didn't exist back then. The Smash Brothers didn't really exist until we got into the higher bit era, where you can get down. It started with on the N64, but it wasn't until a little later before we could get all the extra stuff that we can get now with it. So that comparison, I think, is a little tough, considering that they've kind of Street Fighter's kind of been a lot better about keeping that imbalance from happening too profusely badly, and especially in the last couple of versions, they've really honed that in to keeping that balance as best as possible. Smash Brothers is all over the damn place, and everybody knows it.
I think the problem here is just very simple. They need to have a tournament edition. They need to have a more open Street Fighter,
and you'll get people bitching at them for giving 18 different versions, because that's what they get made fun of for doing.
Then you just use downloadable content. Look at what Mortal Kombat has done cleanly. You have your tournament edition for your tournament players, and then you just have something you can use DLCs in packs to fill. And it's clean. Don't be messy. The problem is they will be messy and try and make 100 things instead of looking at something that works. It says, here's a clean Mortal Kombat, and here are packs. every 3 months, here are new characters, and then here's the next version. Done.
Well, and I mean, even just something silly like making it a modular part of Street Fighter just to return couch co-op, or not couch co-op, but couch competition. You know, like you don't need that. If you're telling us that like this is what Street Fighter should be in its purest form, then we don't need this. But there are people who like to play Street Fighter next to someone in the same room, so you have a little plug that just fits that feature back into the main game. And so when you go to your Street Fighter 5 hub, you've got like the different game modes that you can actually interact with. And so as an offshoot, just through the Street Fighter game, you can go into
you know what
Capcom or something. Like
guys, why are we arguing about trying to help these guys to make money, man? They don't want to make money, so that's not even my. I mean,
in the end of the day, it's all their DLC strategy is the way they're gonna make money by probably making a lot of this DLC driven. But what their point was is what their idea is: we need to make the perfect tournament fighting game, a competitive fighting game, and we don't care about anything else. And that's what they did.
And watch that game not sell. Done. Anyway, let's move on to questions that we have here.
They don't need to sell. That's the thing.
In the chat here, we have one from iMac Tech. It says, "Hey guys, I know it's kind of a personal question. I know Juan is with Pocket now, but this is YouTube tech and gaming stuff. What do you all do for work in terms of making a living?" I'll start off with you, Juan, since we know you're with Pocket now.
wow. So, you know, I've actually curtailed a lot of my voice casting activities. I was a casting director in Los Angeles doing commercials and video games and animation projects. But I've curtailed a lot of that over the last year in being able to produce content for YouTube. So a good chunk of most of my living now comes from editorial, producing videos, and then just the extra little like ad things that we do, like building Amazon affiliate links and stuff like that. So most of this is now my own personal production.
Cool. Warren?
Outside of this, I work as a system engineer for a company that does IT support for several different companies within the financial sector. Kind of nothing too exciting or crazy. Just I'm an IT guy.
Really? You had to actually put that in there?
Yeah.
At the end, he's like, "I'm an IT guy."
I mean, but there really isn't anything else to really sort of talk about it. And my other half of my time is taken up doing this. So I technically have 2 full-time jobs because working with BW1 really is 40 hours a week as well, too, just like any other job is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, for me, this is 100% YouTube. That's pretty much it. I eat, sleep, dream, wake up. That's all I do.
Don't see your stats.
Yeah. So
don't get anything updated.
Yeah, exactly right. That's all I do. Answer your comments. You know, I mean,
if you get them.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what we do. So you know, we appreciate all your support, guys, for watching and you know all that fun stuff. Has anyone played the Division beta?
No, I haven't jumped in.
You should, man. You should. Whether it's Xbox, PS4, and PC this weekend. I think it's this weekend. Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Anything else we missed before we round up?
I think we're good. This was a nice, tight show.
Yeah, this was very concise. Bam. All right, and what can we expect from you guys next week, and also what has been on the channel this week? I'll start off with you, Mr. Warren Bowman. Yeah, I was coming for you, man.
Why do you always go to me first?
No, I started with Juan last week, okay? So I'm sorry. The only 2 other people here.
Come at me. Well, later today I'll have my one thing I have up later today is I'll have my review up of the Blue Vivo 5, and I might have a review coming up soon of this sort of microphone that you can use for your smartphone. It actually comes in a 2-pack, the iRig Mic Lab.
Mm-hmm.
Ones I'll have up and available as well too. So I think I'll also have my Blue Lola review as well too coming up real soon. But there's going to be a whole bunch of, next week we're all going to be talking about S7 and also. We're all going to be talking about the same damn thing for the next week. Yeah. So why are we even asking this question? We're talking about phones. Everything will be about phones.
But you at least told people what you have in your channel this week. You little douchebag.
Phones. What else have we been talking about for the last 3 weeks? Phones.
So to Warren's point, and again, not to invoke it too many times, this is something we also talked about on the Pocket Now podcast, is for as much as we love this stuff, guys, this review and this announcement to review cycle that's been created in this climate of consumer technology is getting exhausting.
Yes.
Where the Galaxy S7 and the LG G5 aren't anywhere near being in consumer hands yet, and we're all kind of tired of talking about them. Like, some of that fun has been sucked out of the process. It gets renewed when the device is actually in your hands and you can start actually evaluating the manufacturer claims as to what these things can do, but I'm tired. It's kind of rough, like how we kind of beat these leaks to death before we actually get a chance to play with the phone.
Yeah, I mean, it used to not be that way. It used to be we get a nice little small period off after CES, after just beating to death everything about technology for like the next full month, that, you know, within that time frame. But now it's, as soon as you come out, before we even got out of CES, hey, S7 leaked. Like, what? Now? It's like 3 months, like a month and a half away. Time to do 40 videos and 40 editorials on it before the actual device comes out. And then when the device comes out, another 40 videos.
Yeah.
So what did you have up this week, Juan?
Oh, so this week was actually focused on a budget phone. We did a lot of coverage on the Honor 5X. We just actually had some time to spend with this phone. We were leading into the MWC, so we went back and covered what we can expect from a $200 device. So the full review actually went live on Pocket Now's YouTube channel this morning. So as soon as you're done with this, if you want to see how a $200 phone can stand up to the competition, you can check that out on Pocket Now. And then to Warren's point, we're gonna have a ton of stuff. Who is it? Michael Fisher, Anton, and Jaime are all in Barcelona now to cover MWC. And I'm actually going to be heading up to San Francisco. There's a Samsung event for the S7 that I'll go get to play with it in person on Monday. So expect some videos on that on Tuesday. And then I'm looking at producing a couple camera videos for Some Gadget Guy. So just explaining some topics when we talk about photography terms, things like focal length or shutter speed or ISO. I'm going to have a few little short videos on that just to kind of help flesh out some of the discussion, because I know there's been a lot of confusion for some people on, you know, like, well, if I have a camera with an interchangeable lens versus the camera on my phone, how are these things different? And hopefully we can illuminate some of those issues.
Cool. For me, this past week, I finally did my Lumia 950 XL review. You could probably hear my tone on that video.
So real quick, you have the Lumia 950 XL. Does it have an AT&T logo on the back?
No, it's an international one.
It's the international one. So I have the AT&T branded 950, and supposedly consumer updates are starting to come out for that, and it still hasn't come to my phone. I'm still on the exact same version of the software from...
I think I've gotten updates up, but then I also put my 950 in the preview build thing because I was hoping it would get better for all I review.
Yeah, so I made a point. I am going to review the 950 as consumers would use it. Which means Microsoft, I don't think it's good support for consumers spending $600 on a phone that if they want bug fixes, they have to also interact with beta software.
Yeah.
So I'm holding to this, and I'm still, I think, on the .29 update. Like, I haven't even made it past that.
I've lost count.
I honestly didn't check the update numbers. It ran well. Anyway, just watch it because my tone sounds just exactly like the review. Sam also dropped his Acer Predator X34 monitor review, which is it's a Quad HD ultra wide monitor. I did my 30 days with the Nexus 6P. It's been a fun device. Also got a tour of the Verizon testing labs in New Jersey, so that was pretty cool. And I got a better understanding why updates take quite a while to come out on devices, because they have to go through their process. If they find anything wrong, they send it back. Google has to send it, then send it to the manufacturer, then come back again before it hits Verizon. So that's why you see that length of time in terms of like updates and stuff. I dropped my Throwback Thursday review of the best sci-fi show on the planet, Battlestar Galactica. Yes, so say we all. That's all I have to say. And then we had Comic Crunch, and of course the Vivo 5. I dropped my review of that on Friday. It's a really strong competitor to that 5X. I think I'll do a comparison of both devices because I was really impressed with what I've been impressed with what Blue's been putting on the market just on a constant flow. So I have to say it will be interesting to see how both of them match up against each other. And then this morning I dropped my first Robo Vacuum. It's a Samsung PowerBot Essential. It's a smart, maybe not so smart robot that
maybe not so smart robot.
Yeah,
now I need to see that. All right.
Sometimes it will like, because the sensor has a certain height and it will actually catch. It will stop itself from hitting things. So if it's too low towards the ground, it might miss it. That's why I say not so smart.
Gotcha.
But it's nice. It keeps my place clean. I don't have to do work, which is great. And in terms of next week, of course, Sam and Daniel out there at MWC, so they will be covering a bunch of events and stuff like that. So that's pretty much the bulk. On my end, I have a test drive. I'm finally test driving the Tesla. I've been doing it so far. It's 2 days. Sorry, a day and a half right now. I've upgraded my level of likeness from where I was last time I drove a Tesla. Also because this car has they've improved a lot of things. I'll put it that way. I'll save it for the video and stuff like that. But so I'll have that sometime next week. So that's the only major thing addition. Well, thank you very much, everyone. It's been a nice, tight show. Definitely check out Mr. Juan Magnell from Pocket Now. You can see all his articles, reviews up there on Pocket Now. And if you want to follow him, it is Some Gadget Guy on Twitter. You can check him out there. And then Mr. Warren Bowman from BW1.com. Yeah, what's all that noise?
Not my mouse.
And you can check him out on YouTube. It's bw1.com. Follow him on Twitter. It's also that. Instagram, bw1.com, as well as where else can we find you that you want to mention? Snapchat. Yeah.
No.
I'm just joking. And Facebook. And then, of course, you can follow us. It's Booredatwork. Booredatwork.com, Booredatwork on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all the different social media outlets. So thank you much, guys, and always enjoy your entertainment.